stories. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on AM.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, 2 more Nigerian sprinters qualify for Paris Olympic Games. Coming in from the world of tennis, there's been mixed results on day 1 of the French Open. And in football, it is Southampton that has returned back to the Premier League in England. Details of this and many more will be yours when we get back from the break. Stay with us.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
Corruption not in my country.
Driver!
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't gam small. Them bribe. I say nothing. Okay now. We go.
to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back. Mike is here. Nice to have you, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning to have you out there.
Well, we'll just get started straight away, and of course, we'll start in athletics, where there's sharing news for Nigeria and Team Nigeria going to the Olympic Games, because two more Nigerian athletes have qualified for the track event at the Olympic Games, and this is bringing to a very handsome number, the total number of Nigerians that have qualified for the events at the Paris Olympic Games.
Yeah, I think it's an impressive one for coming in from the Nigerian angle of it. I think they're actually making sure that they at least they're able to, get there to the Paris Olympic game. Not just one, not just two, but the number of Nigerian athletes who have also picked their ticket to the Paris Olympic game is continue to increase. As we have about 5 females so far, and there's 7 male haven't picked their ticket so far. But one thing very interesting about this very one is that Chukwuma actually nicked this one on the board with his personal best of 10.88 seconds. Not also forgetting God Bless as well, who also did pretty well by clinching 2 tickets at a blow. I think for me it's an impressive one. It tells you that indeed when it has to do with athletes, we actually growing in leaps and bounds. And let's hope that they continue in this fine form, heading to the Paris Olympic game proper.
Chuma and Tima, God bless. Latest Nigerians going to the Olympic Games in Paris. Yes, it courtesy of a win at the weekend, and like you mentioned there, we now have 7 male and 5 female. Dozen number of athletes in the athletics event going to the Paris Olympic Games. Meanwhile, Nigerian youngster Favour Oshe has become the first Nigerian to run sub 10 5 times, doing so in 3 consecutive years. Favour Oshe, a new record holder in the men's 100 meters event at the United States at the weekend, is continuing to show that yes, he is the man to look out for at the Paris Olympic Games. Definitely.
I think it has been an impressive ride for Favour Ashe. She has also created some record for herself out there. She's now the second Nigerian to produce a world-leading record in the African game, where she actually clinched gold medal so far this year. I think she's on the rise, and nobody can hold her back, because looking at her age, at 22, she's doing something magnificent. I think for me, it's one athlete that we need to keep our eyes on, because she would definitely places if allowed and given the proper facilities and support to continue to move. I tell you, in time to come, she's definitely going to inch her name in the annal of history, not just in Nigeria, but in the world. Looking at what she's displaying at her tender age, at 22, she's doing this kind of massive thing. I think it's a plus to the Nigerian Athletic Federation and to Africa, because if any African athlete get to do well, it does not only represent Nigeria, it represents the continent of Africa. So for me, I think it's an impressive one.
Impressive one coming from Nigerian athletes ahead of the Olympic Games. So we hope that the level of preparation we've seen so far will translate to medals or podium position at the Olympic Games. Meanwhile, we'll go to handball now, where handball side to German Marines Academy and of course Abuja Safety Base have emerged leaders on the first phase of the
best hands when it has to do with handball here in the country, because they've maintained this consistency. We will tell you that their results so far they've been churning out is not by fluke. They've actually worked themselves, worked their fingers to the bone to get to the height that they find themselves right now. Then again, for Rima Strikers, I think this is another team as well that is doing pretty well for themselves, because I did not see them, making even, top 5 when the competition actually kicked off. But they've actually proven me wrong, that indeed they have what it takes to compete with the best, even deposing the likes of Niger United as well, who is the defending champion. Niger United, like I said earlier, they are seated 3rd on the log right now. But in all, I think Tojen Marine have been very, very good so far in this competition.
Very good one for Tojen Marine at the Handball Premier League event, in fact, just concluded in Benin City, Edo State. We hope that they continue to put up fantastic performances. Let's go to basketball now. And talk about basketball, the seeding games have been concluded. In fact, we've had 1 or 2 games to enter into the quarterfinal. But first, let's look at Rivers Hoopers, the Nigerian representative at the Basketball League ongoing in Kigali, Rwanda. They had a seeding game to play against AS Oduanes at the weekend. It ended 63-57, ensuring that they did not qualify as the 3rd seed. They now emerge as the 4th seed at the Basketball League ongoing in Kigali.
Yeah, I think for me it was not a good performance from them, especially from the first quarter down to the second quarter. It was a lackluster performance from Rivers Hooper's point of view. Looking at
Is
how
it that they
far,
wanted to qualify as the fourth seeded side and not the third seeded side?
I do not think so, because if you take a look at the first, half of the game, the first quarter, they actually finished as low as 23 points against 37 from US Douanes. I mean, it tells you the gulf in class between Rivers Hoopers and Douanes over the weekend. I expected Rivers Hoopers, to pick up that strength, that momentum that they used in prosecuting the first game when we actually met at the Sahara Conference. But it wasn't to be, as for me, they were very, very poor. But then again, in the second half, they tried to come up very strong. Ogo Dawud did a number of substitution out, and of course, you will say that those substitutions paid off, because we saw a little bit of improvement in the second quarter of the game, where they actually came very strong. Looking at the point disparity in the first quarter and the second quarter, we say yes, there was a much improvement in the second half of the game, but then it wasn't to be for them, as they pick up very, very late, and that made sure that AS Douanes had to go home with a victory. 6-point disparity compared to what we saw in the first quarter, where Rivers Hoopers were down by 23-34. Coming back in the second half, they were able to, give AS Douanes a run for their money, but their effort wasn't good enough. I think for me, in today's game, they need to do a lot. A lot need to be done if we truly must stay in this competition.
Talking about today's game, after qualifying at the, actually losing at the seeding level, now emerging as the fourth place side, they will now have to contend with the fifth place team at the Basketball League in Africa. Incidentally, it is a U.S. Monastir of Tunisia that Rivers Supers will contend with later today. Mike, both sides met at the Sahara Conference.
Yeah.
And it was good news. At least they took each of their games in that at the conference in Sahara. Right now, do you think Rivers Supers can qualify for the semi-final stage? Because you need to win. This is the quarter-final now.
Yeah.
You need to win to qualify for the semi-final of the Basketball League Africa. We've never been to this semi-final before. We've never been to the quarter-final. This is the first time we're mentioning the quarter-final. In fact, getting to the final. So it's good news, but more is expected from representative of Nigeria at the Basketball League Africa.
Yeah, for me, I think Rivers Supers, they have to qualify, because if they don't, I think they are out of it today. Today's game, in fact, today's game is a make or a my counter for Rivers Hoopers, and they know what is at stake. The expectation is very high. Taking a look at this U.S. Monastir side, they are a very strong side as well, but then I think we have what it takes to get the better of them. Don't forget the last meeting in the Sahara Conference League, we had already qualified. And that is why the coach, talking about Ogo Dawud, had to fill in some fringe players against the second game we played with this same US Monastir in the Sahara Conference. That is why they actually defeated us. But in the first game, where we fielded our first 11, our first players, we saw how we were able to dismantle them. So for me, I believe with the likes of Will Perry, Kevin Amayo, Divine AK coming to the party, upping the standard of their game, I am definitely hopeful that Rivers Hoopers is going to get the better of US Monastir today, so as for them to progress through.
Rivers Supers need to get the better part of Monastir to qualify for the semi-final of the Basketball League in Africa. It will make history, and we urge them to go ahead. Talking about the quarterfinalists results we've seen so far, there's been shock at the Basketball League in Africa. The first seed, FUS Rabat of Morocco, was beaten by number 8 seed. Talking about the team from South Africa, the spoilers from South Africa. That was a shocking result to me yesterday. I did watch that game, and you will be shocked that the number 1 seed didn't come to the party at the quarterfinal game. So now they have crashed out, and it is the number 8 seed, spoilers of Cape Town, South Africa, that is into the semi-finals.
I'm very, very shocked as well. I was watching the highlights of that game. I saw a team that was very, very ready to, go for the killer. Talking about the South African side, the spoilers. I think they gave everything. They played more like a team. They played like a unity yesterday, and that is what gave them the victory. You know, so for me, I was actually shocked that a team that was favored to go through did not actually live up to the expectation. But for me, that is what it means for you to be dedicated. That is what it means for you to show resilience and hard work and teamwork as well, which I think these are some of the key ingredients that paid off for the South African side, as they were more determined. They played more like a team yesterday. Attacking wise, they were all there. Defensively wise, they were very, very good at it. And when you have such a, you know, understanding on the court out there with your player, definitely the result must come through. But this is what it is. When you get to this stage in this kind of competition, you can never, never underwrite or underestimate any team out there, despite your rich history, despite, you know, your form. But then when you get to underestimate some of these teams, they are going to punish you. You pay for it, and that is what happened to them.
Number 1 seed, FUS Rabat of Morocco, punished by spoilers, the number 8 seed at the basketball league. Number 8 now into the semi-final. Number 1 on their way back home to Morocco. Meanwhile, there was yet another shock at the quarterfinal match played yesterday at Kigali, Rwanda. The KB Arena was in turmoil, USA, because Ahali of Egypt, yes, you got me right. Ahali of Egypt was beaten by Ahali of Benghazi, Libya. Everyone knows the pedigree of Ahali of Egypt in basketball in Africa. They've won more than any other, you know, team. But it was a different idea completely. Ahali of Egypt, no doubt, the number 2 seed, you know, beaten by Ali Benghazi of Libya. For me, that was a shocking result.
Very shocking. You saw the coach, you know, standing on the touchline, screaming very hard, you know, against his players. I guess, I mean, they never paid attention to the game plan of the coach. Either you listen to the coach where he was very, very furious about his players not, you know, obeying the simple instruction of carrying out the tactics to which they have pre-planned before that game. I think for me, they had to pay for it, but then you don't take anything away from them. They've actually done a lot for themselves, looking at their rich history and their culture out there. They are one of the best in the continent of Africa, but then I think this time around they got it actually wrong, totally wrong, because looking at their game plan was very, very poor yesterday. Some of their key men, their point guard couldn't, you know, live up to the expectation when it matters most, because when the chips are down, that is where you expect some of these big name players to carry the burden of their team on their shoulder, but it wasn't to be for them yesterday. I think it was disappointing. But one good that we are beginning to see other, you know, minnows in quotes coming to the party, proving so many doubters wrong, and this is what we expect, because if you have some of these traditional teams also winning every now and then, it makes the competition less interesting. So for me, I'm very, very happy to see this level of competition.
If you're about gone home, Ahali of Egypt gone home, top sides at the competition, and now we have, do I say, new names at the semi-final stage of the basketball league in Africa. Cape Town Spoilers, and of course, now we're having Ahali Benghazi of Libya. Good news, I must say, but for River Super, they need to do the same from what we've seen and beat AS Douanes. AS Douanes, no doubt, do not have that heavy pedigree, but then I think River Super should qualify for the quarter-final stage as well. Let's stay away from basketball league in Africa and now look at basketball on the international scene, which is the NBA. And talking about the NBA reminds me that the Western Conference is putting up some interesting results. It looks like the Spacers, Timberwolves from are having a torrid time. They lost last night or the early hours of this morning to Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks now have a 3-0. One more game win for Dallas, and Dallas will be into the finals.
Yeah, one more game and it will be done and dusted for them. But I think for Dallas Mavericks, they've actually showed that capacity, that consistency so far, especially in this playoff with their man Luka Doncic always living up to the expectation. When it matters most, he pops up to deliver the deliverables, which for me I think is very, very great for Dallas Mavericks. But then taking a look at how things had panned out so far in this playoff, nobody expected Dallas Mavericks to get this far, because, you know, they have one or two players, just one or two players who you may want to say these are the big names for them compared to their opponent who boasts of about...
Karen Irving and Lucas Doncic, no doubt they are most exciting players so far.
Yes, that is what I was saying. They just two players are there who you can single out and say, yes, this is the best of their hands out there. But then I think they were able to give a good account of themselves, because what they did early hours of this morning was very, very, good for them, because having led 2-0 up, you expect their opponent to fight back, the Pacers, but the Pacers never did that, as they allowed the Dallas Mavericks to dominate proceedings out there. We wish them well. Let's hope that they continue in this format, because if they do, I'm seeing them in the final already, because 3-0 up, I think it will be very, very difficult to be overturned.
3-0 up at the Western Conference in favor of Dallas Maverick against Timberwolves, Minnesota Timberwolves. It's the same thing at the the Eastern Conference. At that Eastern Conference, Indiana Pacers 3-0 losers as well, and it looks like both Celtics will definitely win the next game and qualify for the finals from the Western Conference. Eastern Conference.
Yeah, certainly. From Bolton Celtics, they've actually maintained consistency. They've shown that hunger so far this season. You saw Bolton Celtics, they were the first team to qualify from the normal regular season, and they continue to carry that same form down to the playoff, where they've been very, very, clinical, very, very impeccable in their display. Of course, their rich history, their culture, and all of that. So they want to stick to that winning mentality. You listen to their coach shortly after the game, where he was saying that, they don't want to leave any stone unturned right now, because according to him, he said this is their turn. They must also continue to push hard to see if they can be able to nick this one on the board, and that is what the players, did out there. So for me, I think they are almost one step into the final for me, and I think they are very, very favorite as it stands right now.
Boston Celtics favorites to qualify for the final from the Eastern Conference, and if they do, it will be their second qualification for the finals in 3 years. Well, that's the much we can take for this half of the program. Take a break now. When we return from the break, we'll go into the ever-busy world of football, and we must tell you that a lot is happening. Team Southampton have returned to the Premier League.
Killing him not to counterpunch.
Corruption not in my country.
Kasali, I hope so my card already. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Already.
I just the last minute instruction where you give me yesterday. Now in the cause more delay.
Which is
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you no read again.
which time did I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why you do like all day like this now? Eh? You don't get sense. You don't read the text message. Nobody I want to send them to. Like Kasali, my electrician, make it come house, call me, do my meter so that you don't go to read again. You know electrician?
Your electrician.
Yes, now.
So you call Kasali electrician, make it come if you adjust your meter, make it for no read again, abi. So you said you want young people where be say they no want to pay NEPA bill again, abi? Oga, you no good. Now you don't use you don't dey behave like thief, all these thief people.
Wait, you change for? What you change for?
Two lights. Repair gauge. Speedometer.
For what thing are you for? Come out for home, my motor. I better identify for me.
Okay. Now don't do something we corrupt. And do something come backfire. Now go come dey find how to dodge am.
What you talk?
I dey greet you.
Corruption not in my country.
brought to you by the Akinfade MacArthur Foundation
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
What do you want to buy?
Potato. Small baskets. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, now the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi make her no buy. Make her show you something. What? What's in this one? Madam, this one now the chemical where they put on for the plantain make her ripe.
So you dey put chemical for plantain where people go chop?
Now water, no be chemical.
Madam, water. You know say Pela I don't talk and say water and not be enemy. Drink am.
Where you collect that water, drink am.
I just stop finish. See my belly. It don't big. I just stop drink water finish.
I don't drink. Wait, drink am now. I dey sell am plantain, I go come put am for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That one I talk now corruption. Corruption. Not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me take am.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sport, and the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Telling him that's a counter punch.
Welcome back, and this is the Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. We'll bring you the latest happening around the world of sports. We told you how Rivers Hoopers will be in action in the next few hours from now at the Basketball League Africa quarterfinal. A win for Rivers Hoopers against their counterparts from Tunisia, US Monastir, could see them play in the semi-final for the very first time in their two times participation at the Basketball League in Africa. Away from that, Mike, the French Open is here. It's the third Grand Slam in tennis, and it's like the World Cup of tennis. Some big names are beginning to assert themselves at the tournament. First, let's look at what's happening at the WTA. That's the female version of the French Open. Four-time major winner Naomi Osaka seemed to have discovered herself. She was able to take out first-round opponent Lucia Brossetti from Italy in what looks like a roller coaster event in her own words. 6-1, 4-6, 7-5.
Yeah, I think it's a great one for Naomi Osaka. Coming back from that maternity leave, it has not been very easy for her. But then I think it's a great news seeing her dominate, in this French Open. I think it's a great one for her. Let's hope that she can build on this victory going forward, because you look at the level of the quality of player that she played against. We say yes, on paper she had the upper hand heading into the game, but then I think she still needs to do a whole lot more, because this is just the beginning. We still have some big name players out there, that she's definitely going to meet as the competition progresses. Can she be able to square up with the likes of Iga Swiatek and some of the big name out there? It's still a question that remains to be answered by her, but then I think it's an impressive start for her.
Impressive start for Naomi Osaka at the French Open ongoing in Paris. And any other big name player in the female category that has been of the note in the very first game?
Yeah, female, no, not at all. Not at all. We're just seeing some of the regular a name out there that we've also known in the past. No major upsets so far, because for Iga Swiatek, she has also started in a very good fashion. We've not seen any upsets yet in the female category, but as the competition progresses, we'll definitely see that.
No upset in the female category, but it looks like there's been, well, will you call that upset in the male category? Because Andy Murray has lost his very first game at the French Open.
For me, I think I did not see that as an upset, because we know that the quality of Andy Murray has dropped, over the years. Heading into this very one, I did not expect him to get this out. I mean, to get a positive result. But then, I think looking at the build-up to that game, he was on the media talking about the fact that he wants to finish very strong. I still haven't yet decided whether this is going to be his final competitive game, but we are waiting to see. So for me, I wasn't surprised, because looking at
missing that, being knocked out in the first round, a player of Andy Murray's status?
Possibly, yes, because of the fact that he has not been in a very good form so far, and that is why I thought maybe he's not going to make it through. He's going to be hosted out in the first round, so I wasn't too surprised about this.
Stan Wawrinka, conqueror of Andy Murray in the first round of the French Open. A lot of people believe that with multiple injuries over the past few years, Andy Murray is no longer the Andy Murray we know, and he should be bidding tennis farewell. Is this possible at this stage, given this first round loss?
Well, I think he should be bidding tennis farewell, just like you said earlier, because injury have actually blighted his performance so far. Not also, helped by his age factor as well, which I think has played in Andy Murray's inconsistency since he was trying to come back very strong to, at least reclaim himself or assert himself at the top level. He has found it very, very difficult. So for me, I think it was just time for him to call it a quit and possibly say goodbye to the game that have brought fame and popularity to him over the years. It's just that the love for the game have not allowed him to, throw in the towel. Even not by now, looking at the standard that he had set for himself over the years, stooping so low at this point in time, I think for me, it's a dent on the record that he has built for himself. So I'm just thinking it's time for him to just, leave the stage.
Time for Andy Murray to leave the stage, in the words of Mike, and we just hope that this 3 times Grand Slam champion will know exactly when to quit. They will say the ovation is loudest, or when the ovation is loudest. So we hope that he will look at that. But big names at the French Open, especially Rafael Nadal. He will be in action later today, and he has, do I say, familiar foe to contend with?
Yeah, and a very strong one for that matter. Alexander Zverev is no mean feat. You need to prepare very well for this very one, because Zverev has been in a very good form, you want to say. So I think the game promises to be very exciting. We'll see a lot of fans out there, coming out in their number to cheer their own, player to victory. But I tell you, it's going to be a very tough one for him, because, like I said, Zverev is no pushover, because Zverev, for me, is that player that can also hold his own any day, any time. But let's hope that this game is going to go, according to plan. But then I tell you, one thing is very certain: it's going to be a keenly contested encounter. I'm neither giving it to any of these players.
Zverev ranked seeded 4th at the French Open, up against someone who ordinarily you would say is a lord at the French Open, because he has won 14 times. They are talking about Rafael Nadal. But this time around, he's competing from rank number 275. That is way low, uncharacteristic of the man you see on your screen.
Yeah, and the ranking clearly tells you the drop in standard between, Rafael Nadal and Zverev over the years. There is this gulf in quality among them. Though the quality of Rafael Nadal is never in doubt. We know what he brings to the table. At his peak, we know what he can be. I mean, at Rafael Nadal peak, you can not dare compare Rafael Nadal with Zverev, although I think his form is gradually fading away, and that is why we begin to see Rafael Nadal having a stake and even having a major, odds, where the odds mostly favor him because of the low drop in form of Rafael Nadal. So for me, I think the ranking is clearly the evidence of the fact that Rafael Nadal is no longer that Rafael Nadal that is very feared by any other opponent out there when he get to meet you in any of the game, whether on the court or anywhere. So for me, I think let's hope that the game will live up to the expectation. But I tell you, Zverev for me would definitely have the upper hand. Looking at the ranking and their form so far of recent times, you will say yes, that Zverev is on a pole to get the victory.
Spanish tennis followers believe that there's a new Rafa Nadal in Carlos Alcaraz. He's been able to win his first game, and do you see him going far at this French Open?
For Carlos Alcaraz, I do not see him going far because he has not maintained that consistency. You know, some time ago...
He won the first game, 6-1, 6-2, 6-1, straight set over American Wolf at the French Open.
Yeah, Wolf is an unseeded player, so you expect Carlos Alcaraz to get the better of Wolf out there. But then, talking about Carlos Alcaraz, how far he can go in this competition, I do not see him going far because he has not been able to maintain that high standard. You know, in time past, we used to say, okay, Carlos Alcaraz is going to be the new poster boy in the ATP because of his, you know, massive display while coming up. But then he has lacked that consistency. He has failed to hit that form that will, you know, make him square up with the likes of Novak Djokovic and the rest of the big name players. Even Yannick Sinner is more better improved player compared to Carlos Alcaraz. I think for me, Carlos Alcaraz needs to up his game if he truly wants to become that poster boy in the ATP. He needs to do a lot because don't forget the likes of Danny Medvedev, Yannick Sinner, Taylor Fritz. They are still very much around to give him a run for his money.
It was under an hour to 51 minutes. He was able to take out the American unseeded player. Let's hope that he can get far. He was as far as the semi-final last year, but was beaten by Novak Djokovic. Let's see how the new Rafa Nadal will go at this year's competition. And any one big name at the French Open, especially in the male category, that we expect should be in action? Novak Djokovic?
Yeah, Novak Djokovic should be in action. There's no other big name. I've actually perused through the list. There's no other big name, especially, you know, that is going to play today, exception of Novak Djokovic. I think there's no other big name.
Well, let's stay away from tennis now and go to Formula One. I'm talking about Formula One. Charles Leclerc, that's the new name now because he has just won his first Monaco Grand Prix with the lights to flag victory on home soil after a huge crash on the opening lap. We saw the race being stopped. Homeboy making the fans back home very elated there. Charles Leclerc winning for his team.
Yeah, he made it very clear without mincing words during the press conference. He said that he wanted to put smiles in the home fans out there, and this is what he actually did. He went beyond talking tough on the media to do the needful out there in the circuit. I think for me it was an impressive you know, display for him. I was actually surprised that the likes of Max Verstappen could not live up.
Max Verstappen came far down sixth at the Monaco Grand Prix. That was shocking because everybody expected at least he would continue with his winning party, but it was Charles Leclerc who won, and Max Verstappen way down 6th place after competition at the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, talking about him reminds me of Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton was placed 7th.
I think for Lewis Hamilton, this is the best he has finished so far for this season. I mean, in the first race, second, third, fourth, even fifth race, he was unable to finish within even the 7th position. He was shuttling between 8th and 9th position. So you say, yes, a little bit of improvement, but then he still needs to do a lot. A lot is still need to be done by him if he truly want to get back to I think he still needs to do a lot. You may want to say, yes, the engine of the Mercedes is not helping issues, so we cannot be able to separate or dissect.
The other second driver for Mercedes came 5th in the race at Monaco. Well, we wish that Hamilton can do something. He didn't win any race last year, remember. It looks like he's traveling on the same route this season as well. But we say congratulations to Charles Leclerc, homeboy, winning the Monaco Grand Prix, and hope that Max Verstappen will return back to the podium any moment soon. But this is a distant 6th at the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's go to football now. Talking about football reminds me that the Super 6 has been decided, meaning that the champion has emerged in female Premier League football. It is Edo Queens, and for the other encounter between Harlem Queens and Rivers Angels, it was 1-0 in favor of Rivers Angels. They were almost going to put their hands to the trophy until the 94th minute when the Heartland Queens did equalize courtesy of a flump by the goalkeeper of Rivers Angels, meaning that they will not have their hands on the trophy. They had just 3 minutes more to making themselves champions, but that did not happen. They are really, really heartbroken. I spoke to a couple of the players yesterday, and they were all in tears, not being able to bring the cup from Yenigua, to Port Harcourt this morning.
Very disheartening for Rivers Angels, having done so much, to ensure that at least they get to where they are right now. For every season, they are always the favorite because they have a rich history. Some of the big name players that we have today playing their trade in the national team, they also pass. Some of them pass through the Rivers Angels, system as well. So they are a force to be reckoned with, and I would have preferred the Rivers Angels to, get the trophy so that they can represent us in the Women CAF Champions League, because they have a rich history. They also know what it takes. Concentration at the tail end of the game, failing to finish the game was their major problem. If they had hold on or even score more goals, I think that should have done the job. But for me, quite disappointing one for them.
Rivers Angels disappointed they couldn't get the trophy this time around. It's Edo Queens that have emerged as winners of Premier League football in female category for here in Nigeria 2023-2024 football season. Well, let's see what the males are doing. And the Nigeria Premier Football League resumed to a full-time last weekend, and Enugu Rangers continue to maintain sport. Did you watch that encounter where they were in very commanding lead of 3-0 over Bayelsa United?
Yeah, I actually followed the second half of the game due to where I was. The network was very, very poor, so I could not stream the first half of the game. But the second half, I was able to follow through. Enugu Rangers, they are showing that indeed they have what it takes to be able to hold on down to the final day of the season. And if they do hold on, I think they're going to be crowned the champion. So for me, it was an impressive display for them. Let's hope that they can continue in this fine form, because I tell you, these Enugu Rangers, they have shown that indeed they have what it takes. And their coach continued to play the mind games. Shortly after the game, when he was being interviewed, he said that they are not going for the league. They just want to finish in a very respectable position. So for me, that is mind game. But then I tell you, it was an impressive display from Enugu Rangers.
It wasn't impressive. Jos Plateau United was forced to a goalless draw by Niger Tornadoes. Heartland FC struggled to see how they can evade relegation by beating Gombe by 3-0. Can they avoid relegation with this result?
Well, I cannot truly say. I can't truly guarantee, because we know how inconsistent that Heartland has been so far under their coach. They're talking about Christian Obi, who have actually had one of the worst records in the history of Heartland so far this season. But then, this victory is a morale booster for them. Can they build up to this victory in their next game? That is the big question. It's either they win today and lose the rest 5. That is how they've been so far this season. So I cannot guarantee Heartland remaining on the league.
Kwara United beat Remo Stars by 3-2, while Kano Pillars beat Doma United by 3-1. At the Adokia Messi Stadium in Port Harcourt, Rivers United beat Remo Stars. Sporting Lagos by 4-1.
Impressive display from Rivers United. This is what we expected earlier from them, even when they had their 6 games. We thought maybe they will be able to put up this kind of impressive performance. But then, good thing they are winning very convincingly at home this time around. Well,
let's quickly look at the continent of Africa in terms of football, and it is Ahali of Egypt that has emerged as CAF Champions League final, courtesy of that 1-goal win over their counterparts from Tunisia. Esperance of Tunisia beaten after all.
Yeah, great one for Al Ahly. They've also shown that dominance. They are a clear favorite any day, anytime, because of their rich history. You know what they bring to the table. They're very fearsome against, see this Al Ahly of a team. They play like a unit. They play with all their heart out. They play with great passion. So for me, truly deserving to get to the final.
Meanwhile, the Golden Eaglets of Nigeria have qualified for the qualifiers leading to the World Cup.
Golden Eaglets?
Yes.
Yeah, no, they were eliminated.
Eliminated, sorry.
Yeah, they failed to make it through, and against a very painful Ivory Coast side who defeated us in the African Cup of Nations. This is the junior side stopping us again from going for the Olympic. I think it's quite disappointing, though there is still a slimmer of hope because we are waiting to see if CAF is going to expand it. Hence, FIFA have expanded this edition to 32. Let's hope that CAF is also going to adjust their own table. If they do, then we still have a light at the end of the tunnel. But it's a quite disappointing one that we could not get the ticket. We are now waiting the decision whether CAF is going to expand it or not.
Well, if you don't get it on the pitch, you try to see whether you can get it from the boardroom. That's what it is for the Golden Eagles of Nigeria, and it's looking very sad that we're not getting right. This is one area where Nigeria used to dominate in the past. Meanwhile, because of time, let's quickly get to Europe. And Leeds are heartbroken aftermath of losing to Southampton, which has now returned straight to the Premier League in England after a couple of years' absence.
Disappointing one, you say, from Leeds point of view. This is the third straight time they've tried through the playoff to see if they can bounce back into the EPL, not going through, not getting a positive result for them. Disappointing, heartbroken one for them. We saw the players, the coaching crew, some of them crying in that yesterday game. But then, one man's failure is another man's victory. Southampton, they've done themselves well by coming back into the EPL.
Well, that's the much we can take. There will still be 6 p.m. Sports Extraordinary when we take a focused look at how the teams are getting ready for FIFA World Cup, because there will be qualifier across Africa in the next couple of days from now. And we'll see, we understand Benin Republic with their coach general has named their team. The Super Eagles of Nigeria are getting ready to hit you as well for their own encounter. So we'll bring you an update of how teams across the world are preparing for a World Cup qualifier coming up in the next, that will be 2026 FIFA World Cup. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always on Atlantic Television Network.
For what thing are you for come for home my motor? I bet I didn't for me.
Okay. Now don't do something we call corrupt. And something come backfire now go come dey find how to dodge am.
What you